So hello you wonderful citizen of the internet, and welcome to a video on navigating Saviour complex guys as someone who is autistic or who has an ED or who just generally gives off a neurodivergent vibe. And actually I think this applies to people who are visibly disabled too. Like if you have any of these things that give off a vibe about you that you are slightly fragile, slightly delicate, slightly broken, Saviour complex guys, you are their bait, you are their magnet, and it is quite useful to know how to tell a good one from a bad one, because I know for a lot of people, like even the term Saviour complex guys is inherently negative. Like they're just all bad, they're all out to control you, they're all out to do all sorts of awful things. But my experiences with the ones that I dated were almost entirely positive. So there are the ones who their kick is you know, that they are worthy really of the title of Saviour complex guys, in that their kick is helping and saving and assisting and being needed is kind of their big thing. I think that's what they get from it, is that they feel needed and they need that. But then, yes, you do get the ones who are drawn to people who are a little bit vulnerable and a little bit broken. And the ones who are drawn to that for negative reasons, it tends to be just knowing that you're going to be easy prey. You are going to be easy to manipulate. You're going to be easy to control, they think. And if you have some sort of disability, physical or mental, that makes it harder for you to get away from them if they do become abusive, obviously for an abuser that's a positive. So I think it's a very good idea to have some knowledge about abusers and their common tactics, particularly at the beginning. You know, the things that they come out the gate with, so you can hopefully get away while you can still get away easily. But yeah, my experiences with the positive sort of Saviour complex guys to begin with, yeah, for me, I found these guys rain from the fucking heavens when you're young, particularly. Like if you've got any of these things, if you're visibly underweight, if you're obviously neurodivergent, all of these things, and you're also young, a lot of Saviour complex guys, because they do tend to date younger as well. I think this thing that they like to be the teacher, the mentor, the provider in the relationship. Obviously, younger girls are going to be more appealing. So you get a lot of these guys coming for you when you're younger. But by my age, I haven't had a Saviour complex guy hit on me in a very, very, very long time, actually. I feel like I've aged out of the Saviour complex guys at this point. They're all either taken by now or they're dating younger still. I don't know. But yeah, for me, the one that mostly comes to mind, he gave me a lot of really good advice on like what I should do with my life. But at the same time, he was planning to kind of like upgrade his career, because he was thinking, look, if this like busted ass person is gonna be not his words obviously, but if this busted ass person is gonna be my life partner, like they're never gonna bring in that much money. Like I'm gonna have to be pretty much the sole breadwinner. I'm gonna have to like beef up my career. And you know, that's really, really sweet, I think, to have someone who is willing to put themselves out to that degree to support you with all of your many malfunctions. As for how bad Saviour complex guys can get, though, I want to give you an example of something I saw online about 12 years ago. And there was a eating disordered girl who kind of blew up in the media because she was doing a GoFundMe to try and get treatment because she was critically ill, needed to go somewhere very specialist. She needed the money for that. But the eating disorder forum girlies that I still know, so many of them were just raising red flags about this girl and her relationship, because her boyfriend, she'd been recovered, and then she'd relapse round about the time of meeting this boyfriend. Maybe it was a bit before and he was blameless. Maybe it was a bit after, but it was round about that time. And while she'd been eating disordered in the past, but it had been to a certain severity. Now she was with this guy, and this guy was a personal trainer. right? So he knew all about nutrition. He knew all about muscles, how to build muscles, how to waste muscles. He knew all of these things. And this girl who had a history of eating disorder to a certain level of severity had now ended up at this level of severity where she could not get off the couch because this guy was picking her up and carrying her everywhere she needed to go, which if he wasn't a personal trainer, you might think, look, he just wanted to be helpful. He could see her struggling. He didn't want her to struggle. He wanted to help. He wanted to be kind. But when you've got someone who knows full well, if this person doesn't keep struggling and using their muscles, they're going to end up bedbound, and they actively participate in making that person bedbound by carrying them around everywhere, you know, and then that person gets super, 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 super sick, and you're thinking, okay, this person can't even get up to feed themselves anymore. So everything that they're eating or not eating is being brought to them by this boyfriend, and they're in this really bad state of health. And this girl, to my knowledge, has never recovered with this guy by her side. I don't want to mention names. Like, if anyone knows the name of the person I'm talking about, please leave it out of things. I do not want to start anything with this person in the critical state of health they are in the length of this relationship that they've been in. And who knows, maybe it's a perfectly fine relationship, but it just looks so fishy. And if that is someone who's been drawn to an ED'd person as feeling like, wow, they would be easy to control, I'm going to act like I'm the savior. I'm going to act like, oh, let me help you with this, let me help you with that. And they're going to reach this state of health whereby they are completely disabled and cannot do anything for themselves. And they are trapped and they are mine. And it's really, really, really sinister if that is indeed what is going on. So I guess to get to the actual point of this video and how to tell which kind of savior complex guy has landed in your lap, I think one of the biggest kind of early markers of, okay, this person is probably some kind of savior complex, is often their career. I've found that people who have a bit of a savior complex streak, they oftentimes work, like it bleeds over into their job as well. So they'll often have a job that's something to do with the medical field or like social work. They can be a policeman, they might be a teacher. So something that's like mentoring, teaching, looking after, enforcing, supporting, like all of these kind of slight saviory roles seem to be the main fields you find them working in. And as for whether they're a savior complex guy or not, I think you have to oftentimes assume that they may well be. If you are someone who, as I say, does have this aura about you of fragility, brokenness, vulnerability, whether that's because of your weight, whether that's because you have a sort of slightly childlike appearance, maybe you're quite petite in other ways, maybe it's the neurodivergency. Yeah, if you have all of these things coming out of you and someone is drawn to you, I think it's worth thinking, are they a savior complex? And if so, which type are they? And I think like there isn't really, as far as I've noticed, there is not really an easy, clear test for specifically savior complex guys, apart from your own vibes. Like for me, I would find it to vibe weird if this person was excessively interested in my malfunctions. Like I know it's lovely and it's relieving, and I love that bit in an early relationship when you finally have the conversation, and you know you've been creeping around trying to hide your malfunctions and trying not to talk about your problems and trying not to scare them off basically, and then you finally have that conversation where you go, look, here is all my shit, and they go, look, okay, well, here's all my shit, and then you've cleared the air and it's out of the way and it's fine and you can talk and you can be open. That's lovely. But if someone became like really, 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 really fascinated by the minute details of my malfunctions, like what medications I was on and when I took them and all of these things, and they were really trying to insert themselves into the process of when I was, making sure that they were reminding me of medications and things, like that's a big sign of savior complex. Like obviously if they're really trying to assist you with these things in your life. And like, if you are legitimately chaotic with taking your medication and someone is trying to assist, okay, they may well be trying to be helpful. But if you're actually managing it just fine and they're trying to kind of manage things for you that you're already managing fine on your own, that to my mind is them chipping away at something that you have, a system that you have made work for your own health, and they're trying to be the one to step in and go, hey, lean on me. And it's like, well, I don't want to lean on you just yet, or maybe ever to this degree, because if you step out of the way and I'm leaning on you that hard, I'm going to fall over on my ass. You know what I mean? So I would be a bit suspicious of anyone who is really pushing themselves into your medical business too much. That would concern me. But other than that, I think it's basically just looking out for the pretty typical signs or early signs of someone who is an abuser. I heard this on TikTok the other day, and I thought it was kind of genius. When it comes to new relationships and trying to work out, like, is this person a good person? Are they respectful? Are they going to respect any boundaries I set in relationships? Apparently there is quite an easy way of working this out, and that is to set a dud in one of the early conversations you have with them. And what I mean by this is that you plant in the conversation an insecurity that is not real. So the example I think the TikTok gave was to say you were really embarrassed about your middle name. So, you know, and you give a middle name eventually, you know, you don't want to tell them your middle name because you're really ashamed about it and you hate this middle name. You know, your mother gave you the middle name Gertrude and you've never been comfortable with it. You know, people used to tease you about it at school and it's not cool, and please never call me Gertrude, you know. Whatever it can be, whatever lie you want to make up, dump it in the conversation, just a minor little white lie about an insecurity. And then just see, do they at any point start teasing you about that thing? Because you have made it very clear, this is something I'm sensitive about. This is something I don't want to be mocked about. This is something that is going to be hurtful if you mock me about it. So if later that meal they get kind of drunk and they start going, oh, oi, Gertie, like, you know, this person is stepping on my boundaries already. This person finds it funny when I'm uncomfortable. They find my insecurities funny. And if you're getting that from them straight away, get out of the way, run. I mean, you can either smugly tell them that was a test and you failed, but personally I would recommend keeping your tactics to yourself and just fucking ghosting them and letting them wonder, like, what did I do? Everything seemed to be going so well and then I got ghosted. Up to you how you deal with it, but I thought that was brilliant. And I haven't yet thought up, like, what will my dud be? What will be my little white insecurity lie? So I thought that was one good one. But other than that, really just looking for dubious early relationship shit. And I would say with Saviour complex guys and people they regard as kind of vulnerable, delicate, fragile, it's gonna be along the lines of love bombing, future faking, codependent, moving too fast stuff. And the future faking, that in case anyone doesn't know that term, because I only learned that term fairly recently, but it's when people, particularly in early relationships, they're already talking to you about the future. Sometimes it's kind of jokey. Sometimes they'll just kind of in a jokey way say, oh, so, you know, oh, yeah, this meal was amazing. When we get married, this is what we'll have at our wedding. You know, you just say it as a complete joke. And obviously, like, it's a first date or whatever. Obviously, everyone knows it's a joke. But apparently, this is like a psychological tactic that if you make someone envisage you in this trusted position with them, whether you make a joke about like when you sleep together or when you get married or whatever, it makes that person, even for a split second, kind of envisage you in that position, like, oh wow, what would they be like if we slept together, or what would they be like if we got married? And it can kind of fixate someone's brain on you a little bit. Apparently it's quite a known tactic, but future faking more generally is being more serious about this, is genuinely promising someone a future that you have no intention of giving them. So, you know, say if it's a guy who meets a single mother and he has no interest in the kid, he has no intention of sticking around, and he's there going, oh, you know, when we take so-and-so on holiday, the little kid on holiday, and we'll do this, that, and the other, and future faking. And obviously that is a really, really lethal tactic, I feel like, because if they've studied you enough and they've worked out exactly what you want in life, and then they're promising you that is going to be so hard to resist and so hard to go, but do they really mean it? Because most people don't lie that much. Most people don't lie to such a grandiose degree. And if you've got someone who is lying to that much of a grandiose degree, that's very worrying, and I would get out of the way very quickly. But the moving too fast and the love bombing, I think are big things to watch out for. But as I say, Saviour complex guys do have a thing for dating younger. They do have a thing for the extra feeling needed and mentoring and teaching that younger women give them. And the tough thing is that if you are young and you are in one of your first relationships, if it is moving fast and you are getting all this romance thrown at you, it can be very, very dazzling, and it can feel like, oh my God, but this is what love is supposed to be like. This is brilliant. And you don't have any points of comparison yet to say, you know, oh, well, the last time things moved this fast, it turned into a clusterfuck. And yeah, you know, I would say if you are young and the guy is also young and things are going a bit fast, that, you know, that can be natural, because people who are young, they do move fast. You know, you do fall in love fast, particularly if you are a neurodivergent outsider and you've been bullied most of your life. And then, you know, the first person who shows you any kind of love, particularly if they're an outsider too, and they're kind of relating to you on so many of these points that you've never been related to on before, of course you click into that, and of course you go, oh my God, I found my person. I found the one person in the world who actually gets me. And it can move very, 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 very fast. And in a minority of cases, it doesn't go wrong. But I would say it is always worth just making sure you're still kind of standing on your own 2 feet with things. So if they have been on the phone with you like every night for nights and nights and nights, or you've seen them every night for nights and nights and nights, and you're ending up blowing off your friends, like do not be blowing off your friends for a new relationship. Because if they are someone negative, or even if they're someone who's just a bit confused and they lead you on and then they kind of just vanish, if you've abandoned all your friends and ended up alone, you're in a horrible position when that thing ends, or when that thing blows up in your face. You want to keep a healthy balance of spending time with other people. So if things are moving too fast, or they're just moving very fast, even if it feels good to you and it feels great, and the last thing you want to do is say to them, no, not tonight, just put a test buffer in. Just literally tell them, some friend of yours is having a crisis tonight. You guys have spoken for like days and days and days, and this friend of yours, you've really got to go and deal with them tonight. Like, it's really important. If your new partner throws their toys out of the pram about this, when it's one night apart that you have said is important to you, very fucking bad sign. This isn't really Saviour complex, guys, but I feel like it's important to also mention at this point that if you are neurodivergent and a bit broken and all of this, sometimes you don't get Saviour complex guys coming at you. Sometimes you get equally broken guys coming at you. And in that case, many of the same things apply in terms of things moving way too fast, things getting codependent way too soon. And if you've got a guy who is very, very unstable, and the trouble with guys who are unstable and who get codependent too quickly is oftentimes the problem with men and mental health generally, that they're not good at talking about their feelings with other men. So oftentimes, and they don't want to go to therapy because of pride, or because it's just fucking difficult to get therapy these days and everything's expensive. But oftentimes, unstable guys, the only person they have in their life to meet their emotional therapeutic needs is their girlfriend, or is anything around them with a skirt. If you're newly dating an unstable guy, oftentimes you do become the free therapist, and he will be dumping all these problems on you and becoming very codependent too soon. And in this case, if you do your buffer thing and you say, look, I've got to hang out with my friend so-and-so, she's really in a bad way, like, I'll talk to you when I can, but not tonight. If you're dating one of these unstable guys, his blow up is likely to be kind of like, but I really, really, really need you. And if I can't see you, I feel like I'm going to do something to myself. I feel like I'm going to hurt myself, blah, 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 blah. If that shit is being thrown at you and threatened you in the early stages of a relationship, don't write it off as, unless he's got a really, 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 really good excuse, like one of his parents has just passed away or something, like, okay, that's not a good indicator of how someone is generally when they're going through a very extreme circumstance. But if this is just a guy just going about his life and he's this unstable and he's willing to pitch this kind of threat and all of that so soon in a relationship over something so minor, run away. And if he does continually pitch the threat at you, talk to me or I'm going to hurt myself, call his bluff. Call an ambulance, send it to his house. If you've got his mum's number, call his mum, get his mum over to his house. Because I swear to God, every time I've heard about someone doing this, the guy is not hurting himself. He is not killing himself. He is just making an empty threat. But when his bluff gets called and he nearly gets sectioned, or 5150'd, or whatever the term is in America, they're not likely to do that again. So call their bluff and wash your hands of it. Because in that case, if it's real and he is hurting himself, he's going to get the treatment he needs. If it's not real, he'll get the scare of his life and he won't do it to anyone else ever again. But yeah, things are moving too fast. If you are young and the guy is older, and things are moving too fast, and you're thinking, but this is first love, and this is young love, and this is how it goes. The guy is older. He should not be rushing you in this way, because he does have points of comparison. He does know the realities of love, or he should by this age. And if he is trying to essentially use your own youthful hormones against you in this, oh, but it's young love and blah, 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 blah way, I would be suspicious of that. Like, you need to make sure that, as I say, that you are putting buffers in the way of your relationship, that never make yourself too free for any new relationship. Like, even if you don't actually have plans that week, I think it is good to just have some you time when your relationships are going along. Like, if you're someone who you don't have that many friends and you don't have that much going on in your life, even so, you do not want to be sucked body and soul into one guy's vacuum, because even if you don't have a social life to fall away, you lose the ability to be alone if you spend all your time with someone else and you become super reliant on them. That can be something they kind of hold over your head. It's like, what are you going to do if we break up? Are you just going to be alone all the time? Aren't you going to be lonely? So another thing is looking at how they treat people they consider to be lessers. So if you're like in a restaurant and they're treating the server like shit, run away. How they treat other people is a bloody good sign of how they're going to treat you once the novelty wears off of you. When you're like the new shiny toy, they might be lovely to you, but if they're actually a dickhead at heart, it's going to come out eventually. Things like that. And kind of your gut instincts as well, that if you do have this feeling about someone, some people kind of feel that it's like butterflies, and that it's like, they just make me nervous because they turn me on so much, or because I'm just so into them, or whatever. If those butterflies are really intense and really, really sort of slightly nerve-wracking, that's probably a bit of a warning sign. If you notice spikes in when you feel this kind of butterflies around them, like, what had they just done? What had they just said? What what set that off in you? You know, is it a warning sign, or is it genuinely just, oh, I'm really, really into this person, you know? But yeah, I would say do all you can to kind of read up on signs, early signs of narcissistic abuse and things like that. Because yeah, if you are anyone who gives off this vulnerable vibe, particularly while you're young, as I say, you do seem to age out to a degree of these savior complex guys coming at you. But even then, unfortunately, narcissistic guys, they don't seem to be something you ever age out of, because obviously, and it's just occurring to me that possibly as you get older and older, are there more and more narcissistic guys in the dating pool? Because the good ones get snapped up and the good ones get divorced, but the bad ones are going to be getting divorced like a lot. So as you get older, is it just going to be the shits that are still left floating at the top of the tank? You know, to put it in a really horrible way. But yeah, so I think whatever age you are, being fucking cautious is really, really, really vital. And obviously, you know, being young and jumping into things too quickly is not the only situation where you're vulnerable. If you're older and, you know, you're someone who you've, particularly if you want kids and you feel like time is running out, and you know, a new relationship starts, and there are so many people who do get themselves into really horrible, scary relationships because they were worried about time running out, and so they pushed doubts out of their mind because it's like, well, I don't, you know, this is my one chance to have kids, and he seems fine, he seems to want these things, we're moving quickly, but I need to move quickly. This is the thing, if you've got any of these chinks in your armor, there are always going to be people out there who will exploit them, unfortunately. So yes, do what you can to study up on early signs of narcissistic abuse. There's you know, I've mentioned the things that I know or that that have come to mind, but there are so many things. There are so many videos that are constantly teaching me new things that I wish I had have known years ago. So do just keep your ear to the ground on all of those things. I think if you are assigned female at birth with anything that, as I say, gives off this air of vulnerability about you, just know that you kind of are a prey animal in the dating field, unfortunately. So I guess actually another thing is, if you do have friends you trust with pouring your heart out about what's going on in this new relationship and trying to get a second opinion on what they think. Do you think this guy's trustworthy? Do you think this guy's just really into me, or is he love bombing? Like, blah, 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 whatever it is. Getting a second opinion from someone else who is more observant than you or older than you might be a good thing, because sometimes we don't spot shit. Certainly there have been situations in my life where I've known, okay, this is making me uncomfortable, this guy is making me uncomfortable, but he's a good friend, you know, we get on, we have a good time, and it's taken someone else really bluntly telling me, you're not seeing this? Okay, I'm gonna just rip the fucking bandage off and tell you exactly what you were doing. And there have been times like that where I've immediately cut the guy who was making me uncomfortable out of my life. But it, you know, how long would it have taken if it was just off my own bat, and it without someone else being very blunt and saying, look, I see what you don't see, and, you know, obviously, you know, there's going to be some people you don't trust that implicitly, that if they come out with this opinion that is quite far away from yours, you're going to think, what is your ulterior motive? But if you've got people in your life you really, really trust and you know they've got good judgment, utilize that person and their good judgment. And anyway, with this waffled, I think I've said everything I have to say. But anyone else who has got experiences of savior complex guys, be it good or bad, or ways to spot them and ways to diagnose, is this a good one or a bloody awful one, please leave that below. I would be interested to hear it. And with that said, I'm going to shut up and go away, because this is really quite long. It's getting dark outside. Okay, over and out. Bye bye.